The hospital cafeteria was buzzing. Nurses chatting, interns rushing, coffee machines humming. In the middle of that calm, a single sharp smack froze the air. Every head turned. A young black nurse, her cheek red from the blow, stood trembling. Across from her, Dr. Philip Harding, a man known for his arrogance, stared down at her like she was beneath him. "You people never learn respect," he hissed. His voice cut through the silence like a scalpel. Phones came out. Whispers spread. The cafeteria transformed into a courtroom, and everyone was watching. The nurse's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't yell. She just stood there, quiet, her dignity holding her together like armor. Because what no one knew, not even Dr. Harding, was that the woman he just humiliated was not just another nurse. She was someone powerful. Someone untouchable. Her name was Alyssa Carter, a dedicated nurse who had worked tirelessly on the night shift for months. Every patient she touched left with comfort. Every coworker admired her quiet strength. But not everyone saw her that way. Dr. Harding, a senior surgeon in his mid-40s, believed the hospital belonged to him, and that nurses were just background props in his world. He hated being corrected, especially by someone he thought beneath him. That morning, Alyssa noticed a charting error on one of his patients, a dosage that could have led to severe complications. She approached him privately, hoping to avoid embarrassment. "Excuse me, doctor," she said softly. "There's a small mistake in the prescription for room 214. The dosage seems..." He didn't let her finish. "Are you questioning my judgment?" She shook her head. "No, sir. I'm just concerned for the patient." His voice rose, sharp and venomous. "You think you know better than me? You're a nurse. Your job is to follow orders, not challenge them." Alyssa tried to explain, but Harding stormed off, muttering something about incompetent hires. The other staff exchanged uneasy glances. They'd seen this before. But no one dared intervene. Later that day, fate placed them together again in the cafeteria. Harding was already angry about an email from the hospital board demanding accountability for recent errors. He spotted Alyssa talking with an intern and assumed she'd reported him. "You think you can ruin my name?" he shouted across the tables. "Sir, I didn't. Asama CK." The sound echoed across the room. Alyssa's tray fell, the coffee splashing across the tiles. Gasps filled the air. Harding realized too late that the security cameras had caught everything. But even that didn't stop him. Arrogance blinded him. "Clean up your mess," he barked. Alyssa didn't move. Her silence burned hotter than his rage. The staff began whispering, the kind of whispers that grow into storms. Then, her phone buzzed. A name flashed across the screen. "Dad, Director Carter." She glanced at the message. "Sweetheart, I'll be at the hospital in 10. The board wants to see how things are running." Alyssa slowly lifted her gaze to Dr. Harding. He had no idea that the man about to walk through those doors was not just his boss, but the father of the woman he had just slapped. The cafeteria's tension refused to fade. Every whisper, every camera still recording, it all pressed down like a storm before thunder. Alyssa stood frozen, her hand gently touching her cheek. Around her, nurses whispered in disbelief, some in anger. Did he just? Right in front of everyone. Someone needs to report this. But Alyssa didn't say a word. She picked up the tray slowly, her dignity unshaken, her silence louder than any scream. Dr. Harding adjusted his lab coat, trying to regain control. "That's what happens when you forget your place," he muttered under his breath, loud enough for others to hear. He walked away, but eyes followed him, not with respect, but disgust. For the first time, he felt the shift. The air wasn't on his side anymore. Minutes later, Alyssa was called to assist in the emergency ward. She moved calmly, hiding the trembling beneath her gloves. Inside, her heart pounded, not from fear, but from the injustice that had unfolded. As she tended to a patient, her friend Nurse Monica whispered, "You should tell the director. He needs to know what happened." Alyssa sighed. "He'll find out. He always does." Upstairs, in the executive boardroom, Director Samuel Carter, a stern man in his 60s with kind eyes, was reviewing reports. He had built the hospital's reputation with fairness and ethics. When he received a sudden message from HR titled Incident in Cafeteria, Ongoing Investigation, his brows furrowed. Meanwhile, Dr. Harding tried to carry on with his shift, pretending nothing had happened. But the eyes of every intern, nurse, and orderly seemed to follow him down the hallways. His authority, once unchallenged, now felt paper-thin. In the break room, he overheard whispers. "She's the director's daughter. No way. Check her ID, Alyssa Carter." His heart skipped. "No," he muttered. "That can't be right." He rushed to the staff database on his office computer. Fingers trembling, he searched the personnel file. Name, Alyssa Marie Carter. Position, registered nurse, emergency contact, Samuel Carter. Father, hospital director. The blood drained from his face. His hand froze on the mouse. The sound of his own breathing grew louder. He replayed the moment in his head. The slap, the crowd, the cameras. He felt sick. He hadn't just insulted a nurse. He had humiliated the director's daughter in public, on record, in front of the entire staff. A knock came at the door. "Dr. Harding?" It was the head of security, followed by HR. "Sir, the director would like to see you in his office, immediately." Harding's throat tightened. "Now?" "Yes," the guard replied. "Right now." He stood, his confidence gone, the echo of that slap following him down every corridor. Every nurse he passed turned away. Every intern looked at him differently, the way you look at a man who's already fallen but doesn't know it yet. By the time he reached the director's office, his palms were sweating. The door was already open, and inside sat Director Carter, with Alyssa standing quietly beside him. The office was silent, so silent that even the ticking wall clock sounded like a hammer. Dr. Harding stood frozen at the door, his throat dry, his mind racing through excuses that no longer mattered. Across the desk sat Director Samuel Carter, composed but unreadable. Beside him stood Alyssa, still in her nurse's uniform. Her cheek faintly bruised but her eyes steady, unbroken. "Sit down." "Doctor," Director Carter said, his tone firm yet calm. Harding obeyed, the chair creaking under the weight of his guilt. "I received multiple reports," the director began. "Videos, witness statements, even a full recording from the security cameras. Would you like to tell me what happened?" Harding swallowed hard. "Sir, it was a misunderstanding. The nurse, Miss Carter, was being insubordinate. She questioned my instructions in front of the staff." The director's gaze sharpened. "And you thought slapping her was the correct medical response?" "No, sir, Save it," Samuel interrupted. He turned the monitor toward him. The sound played, the slap, the gasp, the silence. Every frame of Alyssa's humiliation filled the room. Harding's hands shook. "Sir, I didn't know she was." The director raised a hand. "You didn't need to know she was my daughter. You only needed to know she was a human being." Alyssa remained quiet, her voice calm but firm when she finally spoke. "I didn't report him, Dad. I was going to let it go. But the staff deserves better. This hospital deserves better." Her words carried no anger, only disappointment that cut deeper than any insult. Samuel leaned back in his chair, his face shadowed by sorrow and fury. "I built this hospital on respect, for patients, for staff, for everyone who walks through these doors. You've turned that into a circus of arrogance and prejudice." "Sir, please. Don't ruin my career over one mistake," Harding pleaded, sweat forming on his brow. "One mistake?" The director's tone cracked with restrained rage. "This isn't your first complaint, Doctor. It's your last chance." He signed a document, slid it across the table. "Effective immediately, you're suspended pending investigation. Security will escort you out." Harding looked at Alyssa, his arrogance gone, replaced by regret. "Alyssa, I didn't mean..." She met his eyes with quiet strength. "You meant every word until it cost you something." The guard stepped forward. Harding stood, defeated, eyes wet. As he walked out, whispers echoed from the hallway. Cameras once again followed him, but this time they didn't capture a man of power. They captured a man stripped of it. Alyssa exhaled slowly. The weight she'd carried all day finally lifted. Her father placed a hand on her shoulder. "You handled yourself with grace," he said softly. "That's what real strength looks like." Alyssa walked slowly down the corridor, her steps echoing softly against the white tiles. The hospital lights above flickered, bathing the hallway in a pale glow. Nurses and staff who had once looked away when she passed now stopped, meeting her eyes with respect, even quiet admiration. The news had spread quickly. The black nurse who was humiliated in front of everyone was the director's daughter. But for Alyssa, it wasn't about titles or bloodlines. It was about dignity. The kind that every person, uniform or not, deserved. She paused by the nurse's station, where her close colleague, Maria, stood. "You okay?" Maria asked gently. Alyssa nodded, though her eyes glistened. "Yeah, I'm just tired, not from the slap. From always having to prove I belong." Maria squeezed her hand. "You shouldn't have to." Inside the director's office, Samuel Carter sat alone, staring at the hospital's founding pledge framed on the wall: to heal with compassion, to serve with respect. He had always believed in those words. But today, they carried heavier meaning. Moments later, Alyssa entered quietly. "You didn't have to suspend him, Dad," she said softly. "You could have just given him a warning." Samuel looked up, his voice low. "He wasn't punished because of who you are, Alyssa. He was punished because of what he did. If I let that go, this place would never change." She nodded, eyes brimming. "Maybe now they'll think twice before judging someone by their skin." He smiled faintly. "Maybe. Or maybe it'll take more people like you. People who stand tall even when the world tries to push them down." Outside, the evening sun painted the hospital windows in gold. Alyssa stepped out into the light, her reflection glinting in the glass doors, a symbol of quiet resilience. For the first time, she didn't feel like she had to hide behind her father's name. She had earned her own respect, the hard way, and as she walked toward the parking lot, a few staff members approached her, one by one. "We're proud of you," one said. "Thank you for standing up," another whispered. Alyssa smiled. "Don't thank me. Just remember, no uniform, no title, gives you the right to forget someone's humanity." The camera would fade out on her walking into the sunset. The hospital behind her, stronger, wiser, changed. Moral message and outro for YouTube. Discrimination hides in plain sight. But truth, courage, and dignity always find a way to shine through. If this story moved you, don't stay silent. Stand against racism. Stand for respect. Like if you believe in equality. Comment your thoughts. Your voice matters. Subscribe to Racism Exposed Stories for more powerful, emotional true-life narratives. #racial injustice, #true story, #social justice, #equality matters, #racism exposed.